Okay. Good evening, friends. Sorry, थोड़ा सा लेट हो गया because there was a discussion of test going on, and I just now finished. Test discussion always takes quite amount of time. Okay. So let us start with the topics of today. So as we said that what we'll do, we'll just sum up what we were studying yesterday. So here is one question which I have framed with respect to the paradigms in geography. So this question is, discuss the development of geography as a paradigmatic discipline. And I have provided an answer, how this answer should have been written. How many of you have read this? Because this was already there with you. How many of you have read? किसी ने पढ़ा इसको अभी तक? Okay, here it has become a bit lengthy, but the charts which I have made, you could have shortened the charts. So overall it will be taking less space. ओशनोग्राफी टेस्ट का डिस्कशन ले लेता हूँ यार, दिस वीक और नेक्स्ट वीक I will take the discussion. And you must have seen that from today that answer writing part has started. Have you seen that? Some questions were given. So उसका वीडियो अपलोड हो जाएगा. So you keep on writing and assessing yourself. The rule that we made for self assessment and assessment if you want to put for assessment. ठीक है. Okay, video was also uploaded of the test. Okay, good. ALS में I think that video and answers would be uploaded tomorrow to you, because ALS का process थोड़ा सा slow होता है. I don't know whether it was uploaded to you people or not. I'm asking to ALS group. Okay. So let us talk about this. Discuss the development of geography as a paradigmatic discipline. So if we talk about geography as a paradigmatic discipline, we can start. One thing would be, so many people will start writing so much on paradigm. What is paradigm? This, that on paradigm. But the question is not on paradigms. The question is on geography as a paradigmatic discipline. So what I have done here, I have given a just brief understanding of what is paradigm. So here you see the same statement that we wrote about paradigm. Paradigm is a stage. Is a stage in the development of a discipline where a philosophy. Tomorrow you will be getting LS. Again I am saying tomorrow you will be getting. So तुम लोगों का एक दिन delay ही होगा. I know that. Is a phase. Okay. Yes. Stage की जगह phase लिख दो. No problem. You know I have told you repeatedly that This is a problem of a geographer. This is also my problem, that we tend to always use stage, although stage carries a very rigid terminology and phase is a more flexible term. Okay. Okay. So it is a phase in the development of a discipline where a philosophy or an approach becomes all pervasive and dominates every aspect, including future research. According to Kuhn-Popper, a discipline can display non-paradigmatic, dual paradigmatic, monoparadigmatic and multi-paradigmatic tendencies. Okay. So here you see, I didn't explain too much about what Kuhn and Popper had to say. I straightforward came to the point that these kind of things can be found. Why I came to this point? Because this is what we find in geography. So right in the next paragraph, what I am doing, I am linking it with the main theme of the answer. Owing to the extreme diversity of the prevailing viewpoints in terms of approaches, subject matter and methodology, there has been constant extensions and even shifts in the focus of geography. Consequently, geography as a discipline has shown all the above designated tendencies and has passed through at least 4 stages of development. So again you can cut here stages and you can write phases. जहाँ पर भी stage है, you can just write as phase. फिर से देखो stage आ गया. It is my inherent problem. I have told you again and again. So first is the non-paradigmatic phase. So from its beginning in the ancient period till the pre-modern times, geography has displayed non-paradigmatic characteristics. It is so because its scholars could not develop the related theoretical foundations and methodologies. Already हमने देखा था. Then we are calling such stage as or phase as non-paradigmatic phase, to concretize their approaches or viewpoints as paradigms. So they could not concretize them. More importantly, they have not been able to differentiate the subject matter of geography from its sister discipline. Okay, so they couldn't develop the theories, they couldn't differentiate the subject matter from the other disciplines. These were the 2 characteristics हमने देखा था of the non-paradigmatic phase. Now I have to prove what I am saying. So here I have made a chart where I am talking about the period, I am talking about the important geographers. Image of subject matter means what basically they were studying, what for them geography was, what was the philosophy approach of them for geography. And here I have given discipline with the subject matter overlapped. Okay. So you see here, there is Greco-Roman period. I have taken as 2 from Greek and 2 from Roman period. Okay. So Greco-Roman में Herodotus, Herodotus historical geography, his subject overlapped with his writings overlapped with history. You cannot differentiate whether he is writing history or geography. Eratosthenes, physical geographer, he was also a mathematician. So again, he was calculating the areas or he was writing geography, not clear. Eratosthenes हो गया. Strabo, physical and human geographer, overlapped with history. Ptolemy, cartography, overlapped with mathematics. So again you see, there was no clear-cut differentiation of the subject matter. Arab, 2 I have taken Al-Masudi, Al-Biruni. Al-Masudi, physical geographer, overlapped with mathematics and astronomy. Al-Biruni, geology and human geography was the image of the subject matter. It overlapped with history and sociology. Then comes the classical period, Verenius Kant, physical geography was the main area of Verenius and it overlapped again with astronomy. Kant, physical and human geography, it overlapped too much with philosophy. So there is no clear-cut differentiation of the subject matter. Similarly, pre-modern. In pre-modern, Alexander von Humboldt, physical geography, again we know that it overlapped with biology, mostly botany. Karl Ritter, physical and human geographer, and he can be said as the first to ultimately was exclusively a geographer. पहले भी हमने देखा है and exclusively a geographer, Karl Ritter. ठीक है, but despite this, his subject matter not overlapping, he doesn't qualify again the first parameter, that he couldn't make theories and models to concretize his approach to be classified as paradigm. Can you get what I am saying? So again, we cannot say that Karl Ritter period was beginning of a paradigm, because he couldn't formulate theories and models. That is, according to Kuhn and Popper, a essential precondition for calling a time period as paradigm. ठीक है, so that is gone. Now then comes the second phase of development of geography, that is dual paradigmatic phase. यहाँ पर भी फिर से stage लिखा हुआ है, but you convert it to phase. ठीक है, phase. Karl Ritter, Yogesh is saying again, please explain Karl Ritter. I am saying that Karl Ritter was first person who exclusively was writing geography. Who was exclusively writing for geography. ठीक है, and if you talk about despite this, we are not classifying his time as a paradigm. And why we are not classifying his time as paradigm? Because despite this fact that his subject matter didn't overlap, he basically, what he did, he couldn't develop theories and models. ठीक है? Now coming to dual paradigmatic phase, this phase is between 1859 till 1950. So geography has shown dual paradigmatic tendency. We have already seen dual paradigmatic means presence of two approaches which may be contradictory to each other. During this period, several geographers developed paradigms centered around their viewpoints by developing related exemplars. So why now we are calling it as paradigm? Because there was presence of exemplars, theories and laws were present as well as methodologies were clear cut. An interesting feature of this stage was tendency for two paradigms to coexist, giving geography a dual paradigmatic characteristics. So if we talk about this, you see, I have given these periods early modern and intermediate modern period. So in the early modern period, did we saw that there were two ideas, determinism and possibilism? Yes or no? देखा है हमने, there was determinism and possibilism. And did we saw that this determinism, possibilism was present in Europe? Later it also developed in America. याद है, before First World War. So there were two main paradigms which were present. Determinism, we can call here who was the main author and the exemplar publication. ठीक है, in Europe, yes, in Europe it was in the form of French and German, and in America it was within America, like the Berkeley School later which developed, it was later actually Berkeley School. Okay, so authors and exemplars. So main author was Ratzel, and the book for determinism was Anthropogeography 1, which can be called as the exemplar book. what was the image of subject matter, और image of subject matter का simply मतलब क्या है, approach, perspective. Inorganic control organic responses, that means how environment controls the living beings. ठीक है. Theories and laws were developed. Darwinism theory was already present. Environmental determinism theories, climatic determinism, for example, environmental determinism of sample. Did we saw that when they were making these theoretical viewpoints, they were strengthening the idea of dichotomy, of determinism, sorry? Yes or no? They were strengthening the idea of determinism. Methods, if you talk about deductive method and Newtonian, ये Newtonian नहीं है, Newtonian cause and effect, Newtonian cause and effect method. ठीक है. So that is basically what? That is determinism paradigm. That is the summary of determinism paradigm. Possibilism, main author, main person was Vidal, and his famous book Tableau de la Géographie de la France was the main book, which can be called as the exemplar book. And what was his approach? His approach was possibilistic approach, which simply signified that changes in attitude, values and habits create possibilities for humans. Already we have seen that was the essence of possibilism. And he didn't develop much theories, but he developed some concept, like he developed the concept of genre divide, which was product of what? Interrelation between man and environment. And his methodology was fixed, it was field work and case studies. ठीक है. So this is the early modern period. Very clearly we will find that in early modern period, what was the main philosophy? This was the main approach. This was the main approach. And possibilism was the challenging approach. सेम है यार. ये कॉज इफेक्ट ये सब रेनेसा के टाइम पर न्यूटन ने सब प्रोपाउंड किया. तुम लोगों को एक दो वर्ड्स इधर उधर दे दो तो तुम लोगों का पूरी दुनिया घूम जाती है. All this cause effect, from where it started? It was Newton who formalized it. Even before there were people who were using, but very famously it is referred to as from that point of time. ठीक है. Can you understand this point which I am saying here? The difference between main approach and challenging approach. Tell me. ठीक है. So one is the main, the leader, where most of will adhere to, and other is possibilism, which is trying to become leader, which is criticizing and challenging. ठीक है. So that was the case. In the intermediate modern period, there were again two main approaches, or two approaches or two paradigms were present. ठीक है. Someone here asked that why we are not talking about systematic and regional geography, because there was not fixed here. We'll see. अभी मैं एक क्वेश्चन कराऊंगा इसके बाद, you'll understand why we are not doing so. ठीक है. So just wait for it. Intermediate modern period अगर हम देखें तो During this period, again, dual paradigmatic, cultural determinism was one, and areal differentiation was another. Areal differentiation here was the main approach. And cultural determinism is the challenging approach. ठीक है. Now, first I'll start with areal differentiation. Here the main author was Hartshorne. We already talked about him, and his book, which is exemplar book, is Nature of Geography. And for him, geography was what? It was chorology, science of regions. We have already seen that. Of regions. And what were the concepts he developed? He didn't develop theory. It was functional relationship concept, order classification, like how you create hierarchy of regions, and his methods were field work and mapping. So this is the areal differentiation paradigm. At the same time, there was a challenging paradigm of Carl Sawyer, and he was the author. Exemplar book was Morphology of Landscape. ठीक है. What were his ideas? Time as fourth dimension in geography, landscape view of geography. He wanted to add time, because up till now we were talking about three dimensions of geography. So which were the three dimensions of geography? Can any one of you tell me? Which were the other three dimensions of geography? One was environment, second was human environment relationship, and third was space. ठीक है. And he tried to do what? He tried to add fourth dimension, that was time. So again फिर से बता देता हूं, which were the other three dimensions? Of geography. One, it was environment. Second, human environment relationship, and third was space. Carl Sawyer, for him, there was a fourth element which was temporal, time, and he provided a landscape view of geography. ठीक है. Cultural landscape, some concepts he developed. Again, he couldn't develop any theories. Cultural landscape evolves from physical landscape. This was the idea. देखा है हमने. Did we see that he wanted to develop a theory of cultural evolution or cultural landscape evolution? Yes or no? But he couldn't do so because of the complexity in the cultures found around the world and their evolution. Yesterday I talked about that. ठीक है. So again here he developed simply concept. His method was inductive method, field work and historical reconstruction were his methods. ठीक है. So this was the dual paradigmatic period in geography. Now you can very clearly appreciate why our syllabus mentions dichotomy dualism. Can you understand now why our syllabus is mentioning dichotomy dualism as one of the main topics? Because there was a period in geography when dichotomy dualism was at its peak, and this was the period when it was at its peak. One more thing that we have to understand here during this period, tell me, In both the cases, whether it is early modern or whether it is intermediate modern, tell me, can we see very clearly that here the determinism philosophy is supreme? याद है हमने देखा था what was the Hartshorne's way of study? It was environmental determinism. And what was Sawyer's way of study? It was cultural determinism. Do you remember that? Cultural determinism. He was a cultural determinist. It was possibilist. So, can you see in both the cases, determinism is the main approach and possibilism is the challenging approach. Can you see that? Yes or no? And definitely the answer is yes. My question is why? Think and tell me why. Okay, Jubilee is saying Renaissance. Yogesh is saying because it was easier to develop science on that way. Okay, most of you are correct. The main reason was that if I say out of these two, we can say that determinism was essentially based on, it was more based on cause effect relationship. Cause effect relationship. Very clearly that means it was more scientific. It was more scientific. So, tell me, can I say that in the early periods of development of geography as a modern discipline, what was the need of geography? Can I say geography need was that geography wanted to develop as a science? Yes or no? It wanted to develop as a science so that it could get better status among the other disciplines? Yes or no? Tell me. Can we say that? it could get better status among the other disciplines. That is very, very clear. Clear need of geography. ठीक है? And in this need, it is very clear that determinism suited more to geographers. And this determinism which we are talking about, this determinism was which type of determinism? This determinism was environmental. This determinism was essentially an environmental determinism. ठीक है? Yes or no? So suppose I am a geographer and I have to explain a phenomena. I am a geographer and I have to explain a phenomena like why this phenomena is why Arab countries people wear turbans and veil. You might have seen that veil, they cover their faces. If I am a geographer, can I say from the possibilistic point of view, I would say that it is choice of people, because people are choosing kind of subordination to culture which has developed. But from environmental determinism point of view, I would say that such a culture is outcome of harsh climate found in the region, which is, here very importantly the problem of heat and dust. Heat and dust. Can you understand this? And if you have to look more like scientific, भाई साइंस है या नहीं है, we don't know exactly, but if you have to look more scientific, which of these you will choose? Suppose if you were a geographer of that time and you wanted that you get good status, you get good money for research, which of these you would have chosen? Very clearly, your choice would have been the environmental determinism or determinism. Yes, that is one of the reasons. In Rajasthan also, they wear that pagdi turban. That is environmental determinism would be the choice. It is other thing that I might know that it is not exactly correct. For example, tell me, we know there is same type of situation was also present in Mongolia. It was also a desert. But does in Mongolia or in all over the desert, do people wear turbans and veils? Tell me. All over the deserts, in all the deserts, are people everywhere wearing such turbans and veils? In Mongolia, they are not wearing. Cold desert, it is temperate desert. And temperate deserts conditions are very similar to tropical deserts. Okay, in this winter season it is frozen, no doubt, but still you will be finding in summer there is lots of heat, there is westerly winds carrying lots of dust. So in the summer very similar conditions are also found there. Okay. So can I say that if I talk about desert environment, don't you think that the idea of Vidal is actually more factually correct and more comprehensive? And he says that deserts offers a range of possibilities, and depending upon our own technological tool, we choose among these possibilities. Can you understand that here? Possibilism is more logical, actually. It is more meaningful in understanding the real phenomena. But for geography at that time, what was more opportunistic? Was it possibilism or was it environmental determinism? What was more opportunistic for geography at that time? Very clearly, the more opportunistic feature was environmental determinism. Very clearly, it was environmental determinism. And geographers went for that opportunistic choice rather than going for the more comprehensive, more logical choice. Okay? But they can also not be faulted because they already knew that the other point of the coin was also correct. Can you understand now why? Whether it is Ratzel, whether it is Semple, whether it is other environmental determinists, they all gave place to possibilism in their writing. They still accepted that possibilism is true. Can you understand that? Why they accepted? Because they knew that actually there is, depending upon the human technology development, there can be actually more possibilities. So they were very aware. However, their objective was to ensure that geography's status as a discipline is enhanced. It becomes a science. And then that is the reason why they opted for determinism or environmental determinism. So are we clear about this period? Why there was a major approach and a challenging approach? Okay. After this period, geography entered into mono-paradigmatic phase. Mono-paradigmatic phase. And here 1950 to 1972 I have written, because 72 is a date which many geographers agree that it was end of quantitative revolution. So between 1950 to 1972, geography was dominated by a single paradigm of, what was the name of the paradigm? Quantitative revolution. It started with the paper Exceptionalism in Geography presented by Schaeffer. Later, several geographers including McCarty, Garrison, Ullman, Bijel Berry, William Bunge, etc. became its followers, votaries. Several theories and laws of location, flows, distribution and settlement were formulated. ठीक है, ड्यूरिंग दिस पीरियड. सो इसमें अगर मुझे चार्ट बनाना है, यहाँ पे भी बना सकते हैं ऑफ द पीरियड ऑफ क्यू आर. Period, name of paradigm, image of subject matter or the approach author and exemplar theories and methodology. So period was 1950 to 72, and we have seen that this was the first part of late modern period. देखा है हमने इसको. Name of the paradigm was quantitative revolution. What was the image of subject matter? Image of subject matter was geography was science of location. Science of location. It was seen as science of location. Author and exemplar, we can definitely talk about the main author. There were many, but we'll talk about the main one, Schaeffer. And what was the name of the paper he published? It was Exceptionalism in Geography. Number of theories were adopted within geography, imported in geography. They were not made, they were actually imported in geography from other disciplines, like von Thunen model of agricultural location, Weber's इंडस्ट्रियल लोकेशन थ्योरी. वो जो हमारा मॉडल्स एंड थ्योरीज पूरा सिलेबस है, ऑल दोज थ्योरीज वर इंपोर्टेड विद इन ज्योग्राफी ड्यूरिंग दिस पीरियड. येस, ही क्रिटिसाइज्ड एक्सेप्शनलिज्म. ठीक है. सो वॉन थ्यूनेन मॉडल ऑफ एग्रीकल्चरल लोकेशन, वेबर्स इंडस्ट्रियल लोकेशन थ्योरी. देन if you talk about others, like so many of them are there, Malthusian theory, whether you talk about, or whether you talk about others like central place theories, very famous. So many of them. Methodology, very clearly it was deductive methodology was adopted. Another method was, हमारे सिलेबस में दिस इज मेंशन्ड, लोकेशनल एनालिसिस. इट वाज एक्चुअली व्हाट मेथड ऑफ क्वांटिटेटिव रिवोल्यूशन. ठीक है. आर वी क्लियर अबाउट दिस? सो फॉर दिस पीरियड ऑल्सो, द मोनो पैराडाइमेटिक फेज ऑल्सो वी कैन मेक सच चार्ट. देन मूविंग ऑन, if you want to write in methods, you can further write mathematical and statistical methods were used. Okay, Jitendra, you'll get it with time if it is your first class. So then we reach to multi-paradigmatic, again stage nahi, phase. Multi-paradigmatic phase. We have already seen that by this period what happened. There was demise of quantitative revolution in early 1970s. Reason was its mechanistic nature, neglecting humans, gave rise to three parallel paradigms, namely behavioral, humanistic and radical. ठीक है. अब यहाँ पर एक्चुअली देयर इज नॉट सिंगल पर्सन हु क्रिएटेड इट, सो इसलिए मैंने वो एग्जाम्पलर वाला एस्पेक्ट यहाँ पर छोड़ दिया है. ठीक है. बट व्हेन वील स्टडी देम इन डिटेल, वी विल सी द एग्जाम्पलर बुक्स एज वेल. सो Three paradigms: behavioral paradigm, number of people were there, white. Most important, if I have to talk about, it is Wolpert, although the pioneer was white. But I have to identify one, it was Wolpert. You can say both White and Wolpert. We'll see. White actually developed that in physical geography, Wolpert introduced in human geography. So, what was the behavioral approach? Subject matter: study of human activity in space by focusing upon human behavior. So, they felt that if you study the behavior of the people, you can ultimately come to conclusion. You can formulate general laws and theories. ठीक है. Important concepts developed is all these. There was hardly development of theories, they were concepts. So that is why I have replaced theories with concepts. So Simon's assumptions on behavior. Herbert Simon, you might be knowing, he was a psychologist and he was given even Nobel Prize for his theory on behavior. Time geography was concept which was developed by Hegelstam. ठीक है. What was the method? Methodology was inductive, mental maps, matrix approach, game theory. ठीक है. Nomothetic यहाँ पर लिखा हुआ है. You basically you don't have to write it here. यहाँ से हटा दो. If you want to write nomothetic, it was here. ठीक है. I'll explain. There are actually two terms here. One is nomothetic and other is ideographic. Other one is ideographic. So nomothetic is what? It is basically a law making approach. ठीक है. So nomothetic means you have to reach universal generalizations and you have to formulate what? Models, theories and laws. So behavioral approach, what it was doing, despite the fact that it was trying to include behavior, its objective was same as quantitative revolution, that is models, theories and laws. ठीक है. Ideographic on the other hand, yes, it is systematic approach. Ideographic on the other hand is what? It is based upon study of uniqueness. If it is study of uniqueness, which approach it would follow? Systematic or regional? Here it is very clearly, thus it favors regional approach. ठीक है. So here we are using the term nomothetic. So nomothetic यहाँ पर लिखो, image of the subject matter में. Geography was a systematic discipline. So this is the behavioral approach. Humanistic approach क्या था? Number of people: Wright, Lowenthal, Tuan, Kirk, Buttimer, Lay, Relf, so many. We'll later talk about them. Human geography, what was the key theme? Perspective was human geography should place humans at its center. Human should be at the center, and humans, placing human means humanness. And what is humanness? What is humanness? Is humanness is in our physical bodies? No. Humanness is a feeling. Humanness is essentially what? Idea. Humanness is the values that we carry. ठीक है. So they wanted to place these subjective aspects at the center of study. Very clearly, tell me, can I say they were very philosophical? So यहाँ पर देखो, यहाँ पर idiographic लिखा हुआ है. You actually place, they found geography to be idiographic. For them, it was idiographic, study of unique things. ठीक है. And again, they also failed to develop theories. They basically did what? They developed some approaches, concepts, sub approaches, phenomenology, existentialism, idealism, etc. ठीक है. We'll see what are these later on. What was their method? Method, you know, if you want to know about human beings, interviews, field studies, surveys, ठीक है, discussions, debates. So such humanistic methodologies was the center of humanism. ठीक है. So that was humanistic approach. Then there was a third parallel approach at that time, and it was radical approach. And number of people like Pete, Harvey, Levi-Strauss, Sartre, ठीक है, we'll talk about number of people were there. Two most pioneer, if you talk about it, they were Pete and Harvey, if you have to remember. Pete and Harvey. And if you talk about what was their idea, spatial patterns are produced by underlying structures. ठीक है. There is always something which is unseen, and unseen is the cause. What is visible is not the cause. Visible is the effect. Cause always lies underneath. And this underneath, what was present, they called it as structure. So structure is determining what we are doing. For example, tell me, if today we were living in a political structure which was based upon kinship, where there is lots of favoritism, etc., etc., would you be here paying money even in the corona period, corona time, and coming to study geography? Tell me. Obviously no. Why we are here? Because our system is based upon a more democratic setup, or comparatively more democratic setup. And here in this setup, things are determined by meritocracy. They are determined by merit. And because of that, you are present here. So see, are our activities determined by us? We are determining our activities, or the underlying structure is determining our activities? It is the underlying structure. Systems are determining us. ठीक है. So they feel that individuals are subordinated by the systems that are created by the individuals, structures which have been created by them. ठीक है. And in them there was number of things which developed, like realism, Marxism, structuralism. One theory they utilized was Marx theory of historical materialism. It is not exactly a theory, it is a hypothesis as best. Although it is, whatever he says is actually correct, but you can understand it is against capitalistic setup. So it is still not given a status of a theory. And what was the methodology? The methodology was deductive. They were reducing from this historical materialism. Okay. So during this period, there were these three approaches. Now I'll just try to give you one practical example of how these approaches were different from each other. Okay. So suppose it is an examination period and it is 3 a.m. in the morning. It is 3 a.m. in the morning. ठीक है? And suddenly you feel hungry. You begin to feel hungry. And suppose it was Corona time and it is total lockdown. So you have already perceived how the situations was there. So that means no Swiggy, Zomato. स्विगी जोमेटो भी नहीं है. You still feeling hungry? You need to eat something. So what you do, you go and open the fridge. Open your fridge to see what is there. And once you open the fridge, you find that there are, बाकी तो कुछ नहीं है, but there is some ice cream of different flavors are kept. So suppose there is chocolate flavor ice cream is there, there is vanilla flavor, there is strawberry flavor, and there is butterscotch flavor. So these 4 flavor ice creams are kept in the fridge. ठीक है? And now you have to choose among these and you will be eating that. And this is the phenomena. Suppose this is the geographical phenomena which is taking place. So see how each of these, this you have to make a choice among them. A choice has to be made. So how each of the approaches that we studied, how they will study the phenomena. Suppose I give this task of study to quantitative revolution approach. Quantitative revolution approach. So QR, a person belonging to the QR approach, following the QR approach, simply what he will do, he will simply calculate the mathematical probability of which of these ice creams should be chosen. So 1-4, 1-4, 1-4 probability will be there of each of them being chosen, yes or no. And he is not at all concerned of the behavior. People for him is only one. Only one person is there. He will not take into all those things as at account. For him there is only one person and he works like a machine. He is economic, rational human. Very rational human being, and he will not take, suppose calorie and nutrient, it will see quantitative revolution was fully based upon assumptions. Okay, so we are assuming here all of them have equal calorie and the calorie content, sugar, etc. everything was equal. Okay. Thus, what is left? If all people are same, what is left is just the probability. So his study would be basically calculating the mathematical probability. He'll get 1/4, 1/4. There is a chance that any of these 1/4 chance that any of these can be chosen. Now, if I give this task to a person having behavioral approach, what he will do, he will combine the probability with behavior. probability with behavior. ठीक है. Can I say QR reached to one general conclusion, 1/4, 1/4? It was reaching at a general conclusion. Behavioral approach objective is same. It also want to formulate laws, theories and models. But what it wants to do, it wants to give more credibility to its theories and models, because we know quantitative revolution theories had no credibility. It wants to show that we have also included people's approach, behavior of the people. ठीक है. You can see that हमारे इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स में it is too much. Just to give credibility to the people, you'll see that during the election times, all these politicians, अभी बिहार में इलेक्शन आने वाला है, you'll see how many of them will go and eat at poor people house, just to do what? To give the credibility to what they're doing. Same thing here, behavioral approach wants to take the behavior into account to give that credibility. So for example, by study of the behavior, it can reach to a conclusion that if it is a male, if that person is male, maybe he will take any of these choices, like for example, he can go for vanilla and butterscotch, and if that person is a female, and then that person would go for the other, like the case of chocolate and strawberry. ठीक है. So again, if it is for female, there is a, can I say, I am coming to that between these two there is 50% chance probability, and for female again between these two there is 50% probability. ठीक है. There is a 50% probability. Can you see that even behavioral approach is doing what? Can I say it is trying to reach a general conclusion? It is also trying to reach a general conclusion. So Balveer is saying now transgender category 2 sir. ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम. कहो तो तुम्हारा भी एक अलग से कैटेगरी बना दूं. Then it will again become 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. So that is basically what? Behavioral approach. Then if I give the same task to humanistic approach, how that person would study the phenomena? Humanistic people are very clear that every individual's behavior is outcome of his her own history. His her own history. And thus everyone has what? Unique behavior. Unique behavior. Thus no general conclusions can be drawn with respect to humans. ठीक है. So humanistic geographer coming and it's saying that everyone has his own history. ठीक है. So someone, for example, is more liking any of the flavors because he has eaten that flavor throughout his life, his or her life, and maybe because of that he likes that more, he or she likes that more. Other, maybe that person chooses chocolate or whatever because during that time of his boyfriend or girlfriend सबसे ज़्यादा वही खाया था, ब्रेकअप हो गया है एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट याद आ रहा है. सो अगेन चूजिंग दैट और मे बी हेटिंग दैट फ्लेवर, कुछ भी हो जाए उस फ्लेवर को नहीं उठाएंगे. दिस कैन ऑल्सो बी अ पॉसिबिलिटी. सम ऑफ यू आर राइटिंग all of them I will eat. So you have your own behavior, कोई भी नई चीज छोड़ना, इंडियन, परफेक्ट इंडियन बिहेवियर. ठीक है. सो अगेन humanism says that each of these individuals will have their own unique history. You cannot come to general conclusions. ठीक है. Rishend here is saying, but if we get data from ice cream companies, will we get to know which product is moving and there is high demand? How will you know this? If a family is asking, suppose if I am ordering Zomato, I have installed in my mobile, and I am ordering a particular flavor, maybe someone in my family, male, female, might be eating. How can you say who is eating? How can you say that I only like? So there is limitation to what data is available when it comes to the human beings. Okay? So humanistic approach is very clear that you cannot reach any general conclusions about human phenomena. That means you should be studying what? Human phenomena individually. And then only you will be able to understand the human phenomena, then only you will be able to solve the problems of the people. ठीक है. So can you understand now humanism? Then the fourth one is radical approach. Radical approach. And if you talk about radical approach, if a radical geographer comes, he is not at all concerned about which ice cream is being chosen. He would simply ask one question: why there is only ice cream in the fridge? Why only there is ice cream in the fridge? Why people have not been given more choices? Why there is no more choices available? What circumstances has produced that the student has only ice cream in the fridge? So he will investigate why he has ice cream in the fridge. He will go in Karol Bagh, Old Rajendra Nagar, find that the room rents are too much high, coaching fees is too much high. And as a result, other things, students have to spend some money on their girlfriend, boyfriend, must. Restaurant costs are too much high. So he will ultimately come to conclusion that the system or the structure is such that people are basically what? They are not left off any money. And it is so, you see structure dekho, like for example, I still remember, because I have been a person who was in India before, even in the early 90s when it was initial days of the LPG model, and we are now in when capitalism is almost full-fledged developed in India. And I've seen very clearly, like for example, it was like during our times, party का मतलब होता था कि it is like चाय and samosa भी, it is very big party, too much big party. And today, you know, if you have to, a society has been created where if you're not spending and not going into very good restaurant and everything, then again people will ask you कि क्या, you don't have status, what you're doing. So just for maintaining status, what I'll do, I'll take my friends to a big restaurant. And why? Just because today status is more aligned not with the feelings, it is more aligned with how much you can spend. Yes, we'll see later on, it is the consumerist culture. Everything you have to consume, how much you are consuming. So radical approach person would be doing what? He would be more asking these questions, such type of questions. He is more interested in changing the system altogether. He is like a revolutionary who wants good of the people. So he has his own way of making geography more applied, problem solving approach. Okay? So can you understand among all these, what was the difference? Basic idea मिल गया होगा. Later when they will come, we'll see in more detail what exactly they encompassed, what was the scope of all these. ठीक है? Why capitalism is associated with developed world, we'll later talk about that. When we'll reach radicalism, Marxism, then I'll explain. So this has lasted in geography till late 80s. Surajit is asking why wherever there is capitalism, there is more development. Why? I beg to disagree with you. It is not always necessary. It is more result of, you can say, population resource ratio that is found. It is more result of technology. It is more result of exploitation. Suppose you think, Surajit, if the Europeans didn't colonize developing world, if they didn't eat upon our resources, do you think they would have been still so much successful and economically developed? Obvious answer is no. So it is more complicated than that. We should not reach to such general conclusions. We'll later talk about that, all these things in radicalism and Marxism. We'll talk about, अब उसमें ज़्यादा फालतू में मत जाओ कि whether it is leaning towards socialistic ideas or capitalistic ideas. We'll talk about all those things when we will talk in detail each of these philosophies. Here we are again having just a bird's eye view. So latest developments in geography has been what? Starting with the late 80s, geography has seen a cultural turn. Very important keyword, cultural turn. And why cultural turn? Because we will see that till this period, geography was very much Eurocentric, too much Eurocentric. Everything was studied from the perspective of Europe. Some of you, one of you called here that why they are more developed. Okay, very good question. Why they are more developed? Why capitalist countries are more developed? But don't you think that when you are talking about development, aren't you taking the definition of development given by the West? What exactly is development? Today, you can call me as more developed because maybe I have more money than I was having when I was probably a student. But do you really think that I am still the same? I still have the same level of happiness? I still have the same level of freedom? Definitely not. That time I was more happy, I was more free. Today, I really feel that there is lots of burden which has been created. If I don't pay my monthly EMIs, again, lots of problems will be coming. All other expenditures, if I don't do, again, there is a stress of that also. So, there is more stress comparatively. Yes, it would vary from person to person, no doubt about that. But that is what I am saying. Suppose all of us who are working like animals today, from morning till evening, like this week, again I have slept hardly every day 5 hours. And this is third day. If you are given a choice, कि all these ये सब छोड़ो and just ultimately what you have to do, you go and enjoy. And you will be given little bit of task, night बिल्कुल free है. And whatever you want to do at night, wake up late in the morning, and a decent living standard, which one will you choose? I would definitely choose the second one. Okay, yes, Elvin. We'll see that Scandinavian people are more happy than US. We'll see. Many things are there. We'll talk about those. Development and underdevelopment topic. We'll talk about them. Okay, but overall, geographical thoughts were according to European standards. Today also you see GDP is what? In GDP, we are measuring consumption. How much you are consuming. Okay? How much you are consuming. If you talk about America, this is the case of America. And this is your resources, this is their population. If on the other hand, if we talk about India, this is the population and this is the resource. And if you have studied about GDP, you must be knowing GDP is essentially what? It is measure of consumption that is done in a year. And we are measuring our development according to GDP. The growth of GDP, even if it is unmindful growth. So can I say that idea of development can be okay for America? But can the same idea of development would be okay? Is it fine for India as well? Tell me. Or in India, more priority should be given to conservation of environment, sustainability, recycling, reuse of the things rather than producing them. Even if the GDP becomes lower, India should have its own model of development rather than just following the development of the Western model. We should again go back to many of the cultural traits that we had before. India was always a culture where sharing was the key principle. Resources were shared between the people living in the communities. Okay. So by this, up to this time, what was happening? More geography was oriented towards what? All geography was Eurocentric. एक एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन भी आया था. It was Eurocentric. And there was a challenge to this Eurocentric geography, which came in late 80s in the form of cultural turn, where it was emphasized that every culture is different, every culture is unique, and they should be studied uniquely. Okay. So resulting in development of, during this period, there was postmodern geography developed, and postmodern geography is, we'll see, postmodern geography is critical of this, all these geographies which are developed. Postmodern geography criticizes behavioral and human. Why it is criticizing behavior and human? Can I say? Because behavior and humanistic both are studying values, behaviors of people. Yes or no? Values and behaviors of the people. And each of these humans have their own values and behavior. So under behavioral and humanistic geography, it was criticized that geography, which is a science of space, gets subordinated to time. And postmodernism said that geography should be strictly spatial rather than using too much of temporal dimensions. Same was the case of radicalism. We later see radicalism was basically Marxism. Much of it developed as Marxism. So if you talk about the Marxism, again it is based upon the Marxist theory, historical materialism theory, and Marxist geographers, what they do, they use the theory to understand the present. Anywhere they will, wherever they will see capitalism, they would say that the same idea of Marx would be applicable, but it is not necessary. We can see that capitalism can produce very good results, like the case of Scandinavian countries, where inequality is very low and living standards are very high. It is not necessary that capitalism will always produce problems. Same capitalism can produce different results. Okay? So postmodern geography developed, and postmodern geography, what it did, it criticized all these themes. Okay? So emphasizing the diversity and bringing back the focus to space rather than time. It felt that all these were making geography more time oriented study rather than history, which was characteristic during the multi-paradigmatic stage. This can be seen in the emergence of feministic theme in geography. So during this period, as we have already talked about, feministic theme also emerged. So feminists got the opportunity to ultimately, because everyone was criticizing geography, so they also got the opportunity to criticize geography. And they criticized that why in geography females have not been given space. Why most of the researchers, why most of the scholars of geography have been male? Why not females? Only few of them were there. Why in geography females are not given special place? Because the needs of female are different from that of males. And so why they are not distinctly dealt, although they constitute 50% of the population? Why everything is male dominated? Why there is patriarchy even in geography? So again they criticize the prevailing themes. And this is what we call it as the crisis phase of geography. याद है हमने कल बात किया था crisis phase of geography, and crisis phase was till when? late 80s to late 90s. There was crisis phase. Early 90s further saw emphasis on functional approach or functional के बजाय you write, it is actually functional, but you write contingent approach. Contingent approach. So contingent is basically what? Which is problem solving type. So which sought to make discipline more applied. Emergence of welfare and environmentalists or not emergence, यहाँ पर भी एक word change कर दो and you say re-emergence better. Re-emergence होना चाहिए rather than emergence. So re-emergence of welfare या फिर re-dominance. You can say re-dominance. Of welfare and environmentalist approaches can be seen as direct product of such development. ठीक है, because there was inequality, there was lots of environmental problems to the fore. So all this was happening in the 90s, early 90s and late 80s as well. So here it is written, since late 80s, geography has been scene of chaos and continuous search for a new approach which can form the paradigm of geography. ठीक है, by 21st century, feminism and welfare approach have lost their charm. सीधी सी बात है यार. In this patriarchal society, that time feminism rose because of the postmodern criticism. There was lots of money being poured in the postmodern criticism. We'll later talk about why that money being poured. So they got that opportunity, money for research and writings, etc., etc. But as soon as the purpose was done, that money stopped. That flow of funds for research stopped. So usko to वैसे भी you know how much place we give in our society for the females, for the rise of female. So again, feminism was lost its charm. Welfare, inequality. Tell me, after what we see in India and rest of the world today, don't you think that inequality has become like a joke? The issue of inequality. Every day the inequality is increasing. But do you see that we tend to follow the same model which has been responsible for increasing this inequality? And when you see, now when there is no answer to the failure of the model, mainly the capitalist model to inequality, can you see that this rise of nationalism, patriotism, it is not only in India, it is a global phenomena. Can you see that? It is a global phenomena. Why? Because there is no answer. So what you do, you divert people's attention to the other issues. You exploit their human instincts, humanistic instincts. It is same thing like what the Britishers used to do. They made two religious sects, two religious groups in India to fight among each other. So they are doing the same thing, the rich and powerful, because they want to continue to become rich. I don't know what they will do with that money. Literally, I don't know. Either they saw that cartoon in their childhood and took that very seriously. You might have seen that cartoons. वो कौन सा था, डक टेल्स, हैव यू सीन दैट, अंकल स्क्रूच, there was a duck and he used to swim in money. So they saw that in their childhood and maybe took that very seriously. Otherwise there is no logical reason what they will do with that much money. Okay, so again they lost their charm. However, there is one approach which has gained prominence, and which is that approach? It is environmentalism approach. Environmentalism approach, and this environmentalism approach continues to dominate geographical research. Why? Reasons are so many. Today we are facing so much environmental problems. COVID will, tell me, don't you think that COVID should actually further strengthen the hold of environmentalism in the academics? Yes or no? We very well understand now that this problem of COVID was because we didn't respected environment, nature, and abhi to it was just a trailer. We do understand now, it was just a trailer. Puri movie abhi baki hai. Let the global warming unfold its impact, and these pandemics would become so much common. It was like nothing in what is about to come. So environmentalism approach continues to dominate the geographical research. Thus clearly geography is showing what tendencies of a monoparadigmatic phase. Monoparadigmatic phase of development following a crisis. A crisis phase was there in late 80s and till 90s. Today we can definitely say that environmentalism has become dominant approach. This is despite the threats of regime change in US. There was regime change in US, and there was a madman coming to power by the name of Donald, as our Prime Minister says, Donald Trump, and he has been very, very critical of this environmentalism theme, because essentially he is a capitalist. He don't care. He just cares for the money. He is not at all concerned about the lives of people. For them, people are like slaves who are workers. Okay? And in all the world research which takes place, like UN, etc., all these international agencies, regional, local agencies, who has been the biggest funder country? No doubt it has been US, the biggest funder country. That is why it is written here, despite the fact of regime change, because due to regime change it was believed that lots of funding which was done by US would stop, and you'll see that it has actually, they have reduced the funding, particularly for the environmental research. Despite that, one thing is very clear, rest of the world clearly disagrees with Trump. European countries, the other part of the developed world, they clearly disagree, and they still continue to fund such research. And because of the support from the rest of the world, environmentalism is expected to continue to dominate geography in recent times to come. Okay? So can you understand now how geography has developed over a period of time? ठीक है. So I hope कि हमने, although we spend lots of time, almost 5 days, in understanding, in getting the bird's eye view of all the phenomena of how geography developed. But don't you think that it was worth it? Because now when we'll study the main topics of the syllabus, they would become quite easy for us to understand. Okay? You'll see that how much having that backgrounder of things, having that macro approach, how much makes things easy to understand and interconnect with each other. Okay? So now we'll be starting with our main topic, that is determinism. Okay? And just before that, in fact, determinism is the main, not given in our syllabus directly. What is the syllabus mentions? Syllabus mentions about dichotomy and dualism. So we are going to start with dichotomy and dualism. Dichotomy and dualism. So can we start? Yes or no? कुछ पूछना है तो पूछ सकते हो before I start with the main topics. Any chance that new paradigms like coroinformatics will overtake environmentalism? We don't know how it would evolve in future. Maybe if they can provide solutions to the problems that we are facing, they would be able to overtake. But you can very clearly see that right now it is not, we cannot see the situation where they would be able to provide solution to all these problems. Like for example, just take the case of corona, and we are talking about development of vaccine, etc., etc. But if you look into India, अभी सब normal हो गया. So there was one newspaper में एक, or some, I think on website I saw a picture where of Chennai, where festival season everywhere in India is going to start, and there was a sari shop, and the writer or the picture taker was jokingly writing there, it was so much full of people, there was no space to even stand. Big sari shop. And the picture takers had very humorously written below that see, we are not giving any space for corona to enter. How will corona enter? Okay, so it is more like we don't know about the efficacy of the vaccine. We don't know. Maybe if they are able to provide solutions, they would overtake. Okay. Any chance that there will be questions from particular school of thoughts? No, I don't think any chance is there from particular school of thoughts. However, you should know them. You should know their essence, because while we will be talking, abhi dekhna, we'll be using that. But now here is asking in ALS group, there is so dichotomy between pre-modern approaches of both phases. Whom to give more weightage when writing answers? But now, if you have learnt up till now that about geography, one thing in geography has been very clear, that objective of geography is more of a balance, of a synthesis. Okay, so don't give weightage, be very objective, talk about the positive and negatives of both and try to reach at a middle path or a synthesis. Okay, we will see in dichotomy dualism more specifically. Is determinism always linked with systematic approach? Yes, mostly. Determinism, abhi we'll talk about that. I'll explain that in more detail. Okay, now we are moving to this topic of dichotomy dualism. Now, first of all, tell me that can I say geography is essentially a humanistic science? What was the definition of geography? Do you remember? Geography is what? It is study of Earth's surface as abode of human beings. You will find this definition in NCERT. Study of Earth's surface as abode of human being. Abode is home of human beings. Can I say we could have talked about here living beings? We bol sakte the, but we didn't talk about living beings. We talked about in this definition human beings. Very clearly, geography is what? It is study of relationship that exists between the human and environment in space, how it is space distributed in space and time. That is the essence of geography, 4 dimensions of geography. Okay. So, are we clear about this much? So, geography, can we come to conclusion that essentially geography is a human science? Yes or no? It is a human science. Obviously, yes, it is a human science. Now, if geography is a human science, can I say that it is natural that there would be presence of dichotomy dualism, or I can simply say dichotomy dualism is essentially what? It is binaries which are present, contradictions which are present in life. Okay. So, dichotomy dualism is basically what? It refers to simply contradictions or the binaries which we find in life. Okay. So, if geography is a human science, can I say that it is normal that it should be having lots of such contradictions and binaries in every sphere? Yes or no? Tell me. Isn't it normal? Don't you think that in every walk of our life we face these binaries? You must be facing binary every day. क्लास टाइम पर यू सी क्लास का हमारा टाइम ऐसा है 7:45 8 o'clock. Don't you think that every day it would have been like binary for different reasons? So some of you may be like, yes, एक आ गया तुरंत गीत dinner. So whether to have the dinner or to attend the class. Some of you whether to go outside and enjoy with friends or to attend the class. So I out of the odd here in the guidance, some more than 200 students are who are enrolled. So the winners are who chose for the other aspects. Only here 62 people are watching. That means somewhere around 170, rest of 170 students are where they chose the other aspect, whatever was their binary. Okay. So we face these binaries every day. When I wake up, like I told you 5 hours अभी कुछ दिनों से last 2 days I am sleeping. So every day morning में I face this binary, whether to wake up या फिर थोड़ा और सो लें. So there is a choice. On the other hand, there is my career, my everything, my status. On the other hand, I have my luxury, my happiness. It is there in sleeping a little more. So I am facing this binary every day. And this binary exists in every sphere of life. I can say, a person can say that I am working hard. Now the question arises, why he is working hard? Is he working hard for good life? Or is that person working hard to avoid death of hunger? Again comes the binary of life and death. Okay. So again, every sphere of life, human beings will always face the binaries. Men, women, binaries are existing. Okay. Time, space, binaries existing. What is more important, time or space? Okay. So it is very normal that geography will also have such binaries, such contradictions, such dichotomy, dualisms. Okay. So can you understand this basic idea? Because now what I am going to do is I am going to become little more technical to understand what is this dichotomy, dualism. So see how this arises. Okay. How these binaries arises. So if we want to understand this dichotomy, dualism, these binaries, we have to go actually little bit into philosophy. And what philosophy says? Philosophy says that when you study in philosophy epistemology, that is theory of knowledge. Okay. So epistemology, or simply I'll write theory of knowledge. What this theory of knowledge says, that there is always two ways of looking at the phenomena. Okay. There are always two ways of looking at the phenomena. Two type of perspectives would be there to look at the phenomena. Okay. One is, the perspective is referred to as a realist perspective. Realist perspective. While the second way is what we can call it as the anti-realist. Realist perspective or anti-realist perspective. Two type of perspectives of looking at the phenomena can be found. Okay. Now what are these? Realist and anti-realist. So in case of realist, I would simply say realist is what? It is objective way of looking at the phenomena. While anti-realist is essentially what? It is the subjective way of looking at the phenomena. Okay. Now, if I first take the realist view, suppose this is an object and This is the person, realist, and this is his mind. So according to the realist, this objective reality, that is the outer reality, is true. So realists, what they believe, that the objective or the outer reality is true, is the ultimate truth. So I'll in fact write, so our objective, outer, or the physical reality is the only truth. Is the only truth which can be verified. Only truth which can be verified. Can you verify feelings of people? Internal aspects of people, what they are feeling? Tell me. Like, since the dawn of human beings, since the history of human beings, all husbands have been trying to figure out the thought process of their wives. After centuries have passed, they still are unsuccessful. Okay? So what they say, realists, what they say, that objective or outer, or what you can directly see with the senses, that is only reality which exists. All other reality, because it cannot be taken as truth, because it cannot be verified. Okay? It cannot be verified. Thus, the internal or subjective reality is not true for them. They exclude it. Okay? So what they are saying, that internal or subjective reality cannot be verified. And if it cannot be verified, thus what happens? It should be excluded from knowledge or study. Okay? Thus, tell me, can I say, conclude on realism, that realism is essentially for objective knowledge, and it is essentially what? It is mainly the scientific approach. Yes or no? Isn't it the scientific approach? This is what science does. In science, what you can see is the only reality. That is how during the Renaissance period science evolved. So very important fundamental principle of science has been, what you cannot verify is not true. Before, even the physical sciences had their own hypothesis. You must be aware that, for example, if you talk about geomorphology or geography, so people held view that earth was flat and again there were corners, or it was resting on pillars, etc., etc. That was also science, that was also called as science during that period. That was also knowledge, but it was not science because those things could not be verified. And ultimately, based upon the validity, empirical validity, evolved the idea that Earth is a sphere. And number of reasons were given, number of evidences were given in support. Like for example, when a ship goes over ocean, ultimately after some time it disappears. Why? Because the Earth is a sphere. Okay? So it is very clear evidence that Earth is a sphere. And when they used such realistic method, ultimately they developed in a science. Okay? Have you understood what is realism? Tell me. So this is basically realism, and their basic idea is simple, that what you cannot verify, it is not true. Knowledge should always be based upon information which can be validated. Okay? And every reality is what? Thus for them, reality is external. Okay? So we can say that for them, what is there? Reality is external and objective. This is the crux of realism. Okay? But there is other view also, anti-realism. So anti-realist, for them, suppose this is object, what they would say, do you remember that idea that we talked about Kant? Okay? Kant, please repeat how science is related. Science is what? Science is based upon objective reality. That is what is the crux of science. In science, don't we try to prove everything? In science, we are always trying to prove everything. Science is objective, which can be calculated, which can be measured. Okay? Okay. So here, anti-realists have a different viewpoint. Anti-realists say that suppose you are talking about an individual and this individual, actually first of all, so this is the mind of this individual. First of all, very important thing is that always what you see is through your mind. It is mind which is showing us. So for them, rather than this external object, external reality showing to us, it is mind through which we show. There is always a mental phenomena. Everything that we are seeing is a mental phenomena. And if you actually look into people, how people see things, you know, so many people see things which don't exist even. Okay? They don't even exist. Okay? I'll tell you one very interesting story. I took a nap in the afternoon, half an hour nap. And just before that, a person named Ashwini called me. Okay? Just before that, just before I was sleeping, in fact, I was just about to sleep already on my couch, and Ashwini called me for some reason. And suddenly, I see a dream where there is fight with Ashwini, and not this Ashwini. There was Ashwini, very old times I know one Ashwini who was a broker in Mukherjee Nagar, where I used to live as a student. So I had a fight in the dream with that Ashwini, that broker Ashwini. Okay? And such type of fight never existed. Okay, I didn't like that broker. He was taking too much money. And as a student, you understand it was difficult. But whatever, from where that dream came, and it was like, it never existed, this reality. But when this dream was there, I was like, today, I was living that dream. So our mind can trigger dream. If you look into the phenomena of dream, it very clearly shows that our mind can trigger realities which don't even exist. So many people say that they have seen aliens, they have seen ghosts. In India, some are saying that they are already seeing development अच्छे दिन. You can understand how much mind can play games with people. Which is totally non-existent, people can still see. Okay? So, the anti-realist view says that whatever we are seeing, so if you remember the analogy given by Kant, this physical reality is what? It is noumena. While what we see is actually what? It is a phenomena. It is a phenomena. We can only be certain about phenomena. We can never be certain about noumena. We don't know even noumena exists or not. Maybe some would say, some anti-realists say that maybe this is nothing but just a projection of mind. हो सकता है वो exist भी ना करते हो. And if you even go in science, if you go in quantum physics, it might be true. In quantum physics, every matter is connected with each other. Okay? So, anti-realists say that the only reality is what? It is the phenomena and not the noumena. So, they contradict the realist view. And when we are talking about this phenomena, we know very well that if there are different people each of them will have their own phenomena. So, phenomena can be individualistic, phenomena can be unique for every individual. Okay? And they say that out of, suppose we are talking about here, out of these, only one is this person's way of saying is science. This is realist. This is realism, or science is what? It is just one way of looking at the phenomena. While there can be n number of ways at looking at the same phenomena. Okay? There can be n number of ways of looking at the same phenomena. Thus, tell me, can I say realists or anti-realists, yes, for them reality is what? The only reality for them is phenomena. Phenomena is what? It is the only reality. And phenomena is very clearly what? It is subjective. Because it is different for different individuals. Everyone's minds work differently. Okay? So what the anti-realists say? Anti-realists criticize realism for being too narrow in their approach. They are basically what? According to them, realists are reductionist. Reductionist means they are reducing the knowledge. Reducing the knowledge to simple cause effect. They are reducing the knowledge to simple cause effect. Reality is more complex than recognized by the realists. Recognized by the realists. It is much more complex. ठीक है? Thus, for anti-realists, objective should be what? Objective should be to understand the phenomena. Understand the phenomena. So what is the objective? To understand the phenomena. बाद में हम इसी को बोलेंगे phenomenology. Rather than just establish cause effect relations. Cause effect relations. ठीक है? So that should be the objective. So tell me, for anti-realists, can I say reality thus for them is internal and subjective? Yes or no? For them, reality is internal and subjective, and can I say they follow a more philosophical approach? More follow a philosophical approach. Yes or no? बात समझ में आ गई? ठीक है? So this is the base of all dichotomic dualism. Do anti-realists stands to be proved realists in future with more research and development? Maybe, we don't know. Maybe they can prove to be more correct. They can prove to be more correct. We don't know exactly. When you study more of physics, it ultimately merges into metaphysics. So you don't know exactly. Okay, but these are two viewpoints that are there. Two opposite poles. Okay? And this is, as I said, base of all dichotomy dualism. So we will see that in geography, the dichotomy dualism and dualism exists in many spheres. We will see, like it exists in the approach exists in the approach of geography. Like for example, approach of study of geography is what? One is systematic and other is regional. So can you identify which of these has more realism and which of these has more anti-realism? Subjectivity, objectivity. Can you understand the base from where this dichotomy dualism arises in the approach? Very clearly, systematic is more realist in its characteristic, while regional is trying to study unique aspects of every area, every region. So it is what? It is more anti-realist. Okay? So in geography, dichotomy dualism exists in the approach of geography. In geography, dichotomy dualism exists in the subject matter of geography. Subject matter of geography. So subject matter of geography is what? There is physical geography, there is human geography. Now tell me, which of these has more association with realism and which is more oriented towards anti-realism or can be more oriented towards anti-realism? Tell me. Physical would be more realist. We'll see that, for example, in physical phenomena, can I say that same result happening again and again is a possibility? Water will always flow from higher slope towards lower slope. It will always be the case. But tell me, is it necessary that one student, suppose student की बात करते हैं, one student will always go to the nearest McDonald's to eat his burger? Will he always go to the nearest McDonald's to eat his burger? I don't think so. Maybe last time he went to Noida, he is staying in Delhi. Last time he went to Noida and in one of the McDonald's there was a beautiful waitress who smiled at her. And Indian boys, one smile, flat, gone. So he'll always go to that restaurant in Noida rather than the nearest one. So when it comes to the human beings, the same phenomena getting repeated again and again, it is actually exception. In humans, every phenomena is different. Okay? So very clearly there is subject matter dichotomy, dualism, and again the base is lying where? External, internal, external, internal. Okay? We can see other things like there is dichotomy lying in the approach of human geography. The approach to be adopted in human geography. So, approach, you can study human geography, study of human environment relationship. Now, I can study human environment relationship with perspective of what? Can I say I can study with perspective of determinism? I can study with perspective of this relationship with perspective of possibilism. Tell me, yes or no? It is but obvious. Now you identify which of these is more towards realism and which of these is more based on anti-realism. Determinism is obviously more based on realism, while possibilism has basis of anti-realism. There are immense possibilities. It is very subjective. Okay? Same thing we can talk about other things like in geography there is dichotomy, dualism exists in the methodology. Method of study. So again methodology is two types. One is, we'll see the scientific methodology. Scientific methodology, other is philosophical methodology of study. Tell me, can I say here again? Obviously, scientific is realist methodology, philosophical is anti-realist methodology. Okay? So, can you understand why and how there are dichotomies and dualisms in geography? बात समझ में आ गई? ठीक है? There is no doubt about that. Examples of philosophical methodologies हम देखेंगे, like for example, philosophical methodologies can be idealism, existentialism. ठीक है? So we will talk about that later on. So that is basically what? That is essentially the case of methodology. Some Pushkar here in ALS group is saying inductive, deductive. Again I am repeating this. Scientific में there is two types. That is, one is deductive and the other one is inductive. Deductive and inductive. So both deductive and inductive are basically what? They are scientific methods. Philosophical methods are different. Okay? Like philosophical methods, many are there. So many are there. One will see, one method is what we call it as idealism. Idealistic method. Okay? Other we will see it is existential method, and we'll see many are there. Okay? So there exists also dichotomy dualism in the methodology of geography. Satish is saying nomothetic, ideographic. Yes, nomothetic, ideographic are where these are approaches of study. So, this is what? Nomothetic. This is what? It is ideographic. So, I will place them here. They are not methods, they are approaches, Satish. That is why I cut there and I put in the image of subject matter. Okay? So, that is the basis of dichotomy dualism. We will continue this tomorrow, and you just try to synthesize this basic idea in mind. Rest all these dichotomy dualisms would not be a problem as we move on. If you can understand this essence, then it would become quite easy for you. ठीक है, ऑलरेडी अब समझ में आ गया होगा कि बेसिकली है क्या. टेल मी, इफ आई जस्ट आस्क यू, among these, can we say that, can I come to conclusion that realists are completely true? Realists are completely correct? Or can I come to conclusion that anti-realists are completely correct? No, I cannot come to any of these conclusions. Can I say reality must be somewhere in between? What realists say, that is also true. Because no doubt, I can say that this is a pen. So, anti-realist would say कि this is projection of mind. ठीक है, this is projection of my mind. But suppose I take this pen and hit on my hand. Can I say I will get hurt and blood will come out? Yes or no? It will definitely come out. In dream, this is not happening. In dream, no matter how much I am getting beaten, when I will wake up, I will see myself and I will feel happy कि पिटाई विटाई नहीं हुई है. It was just a dream. But in this case, it is actual reality which is there in my hand. ठीक है? So, the reality would be what? Reality would be somewhere in between. And depending upon these two viewpoints, one viewpoint is the external and there is internal. If I see these as two poles, can I say reality, real world can be anywhere in this continuum? Can be anywhere in this continuum, but never at these points. ठीक है? It would never be at these points, can be anywhere in these continuums. And this is the crux of dichotomy dualism in geography. ठीक है? So, we will continue this tomorrow, we will stop for today. Rishendra is asking, would have some doubt clearing session for climatology and urban climate. Climatology and urban climate and applied climatology would be covered more. Urban climate and applied climatology will be covering in the later part, that is advanced physical geography, Rishendra. ठीक है? And doubt clearing session देखता हूँ अभी, too much my classes are packed, but I'll keep probably next week एक रख लेता हूँ. ठीक है? So I'll stop for today. Good night to all of you. Yes, Surajit, you can ask one question. Surajit saying one question. Can time and space be said to be in substitution? There are number of theories on time and space. I come to that time and space dichotomy be at a point I will try to explain you. Okay, there are topics within time and space dichotomy. So at those points I'll explain you the concept of time and space as well. Okay. Time and space is something which even Einstein could not fully grasp. You can understand that he is considered as the most genius of all people. So abhi if I talk about time and space, you can again understand ki already people are tired and it would be too much. So let it be at a suitable place. Okay. Good night to all of you. Please take care.